Welcome back to the JCPod, partner with Stare Down Sports. Stare Down Greatness. The NFL schedule is officially out, so we got a little bit of reactions to do to some of that. As I think there was I saw it say probably a third of the videos, and I have a couple that are my favorites, so we'll talk about that a little bit. As well as we got some NFL news to talk about. So that's all we got on the sheet for today. So without any further ado, let's hop right in. So the first thing we're going to talk about NFL news-wise, is they've announced the official quarterback season 3. They announced official people. Jaden Daniels, Joe Flacco, Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward. Kind of shocked to see the Joe Flacco one, not going to lie. Seems like it's going to be interesting. I might actually have to check it out because, oh man, I haven't watched a single one of those yet, to be honest. Malik Neighbors has had a second knee surgery to remove some scar tissue, and that sounds like it went successfully. So, and this apparently took place multiple weeks ago at this point. It's just now starting to make the rounds a little bit more about what actually happened. Sounds like he's going to be good. It sounds like it's just one of those things that like they weren't going to be able to tell until. So this is how I understood it from the person I heard it from who's dealt with knee issues. So I don't know exactly if this is how it went, but this is probably somewhat similar to the situation of how it went. So he had the surgery done and everything, right? So then scar tissue builds up and everything. They're working on it. He's getting his knee loose and everything. There's a certain amount of scar tissue that apparently you're just never going to know if it was there or not until you try to go full go. And when he was finally to the point where he could start going a little bit more full go, wasn't just able to. Sure enough, this is the reason why, so he had to go in there. Had the second surgery to break up that scar tissue. Now restarts the process over again, but hopefully it should be just a little bit quicker to get back to where he was and then progress from there. But overall, it sounds like it's not expected to affect his recovery timeline. But this is the key word right here. The Giants remain hopeful. That he'll be ready for the season opener. So sounds like as of right now, there's a good chance that he might start out on the IR, miss potentially at least the first 4 games, which really sucks that we haven't got any games with him and Jackson Dart together, because Malik Neighbors is really special, man. The fact that he just got injured already really sucks, because that rookie year was awesome to watch. I had him on my fantasy team as well, so it was a guy that I was actually looking forward to watching and everything. So seeing that, it's just like, oh, so he's going to be really good. Shout out to, I think it was Andy Holloway, the fantasy footballers that gave him out as like one of his guys that year. It was like, hey, this is a guy I think he's going to be really good. I like him and all that. I ended up taking him in fantasy that year, and yeah, I think he basically helped win me the championship game while also simultaneously making sure the Colts didn't make the playoffs because their defense. The Colts defense gave up like 45 to the Giants that day, and Malik Neighbors just went absolutely off on them. But that's neither here nor there. Overall, hopefully he'll just be back. At least play the season this year. Sounds like he should be, but as of right now, yeah, I would assume that he's not going to make it for that season opener. The fact that they're saying they remain hopeful, and it's not like hey, he should be good and everything. Like Patrick Mahomes, for example, and obviously these were 2 different injuries, but he's playing golf a little bit and doing stuff in outings, so that's like a sign of like, all right, so maybe he will be closer to being ready for week 1. And then you hear a situation like this, it's like, all right, it sounds like his recovery's going a little bit worse than expected, which sucks because it sounds like it just was that much damage done to the knee, which, not fun. Not fun at all. Devon Achane and the Dolphins were able to reach a 4-year extension that's worth $64 million. His annual salary will be about $17 million. Brings the deal's max value to $68 million. And this was something that I think everyone kind of expected, especially when the Dolphins traded away everybody, and then they said, hey, we're not trading H.N., we're going to build around him. So after you hear that, and then I think H.N. didn't report to some stuff as they're trying to figure out a deal potentially, or he either did report, it was vice versa, and he did report, and he basically was saying, like, yeah, I'm going to report because we're basically making good progress on the deal. I'll admit, I kind of forget because that was like a couple months ago at this point, but overall, yeah, he was set to enter the final year of his contract before he inked that deal this year, which is really awesome for him because he's a really good running back. But I will say the Dolphins doing this, it's a very interesting move to say the least. And this, by the way, has nothing to do with Devon Achane. This is all simply the Dolphins and where they're at in their timeline, where they're basically on a rebuild. They do have Malik Willis technically, but who's to say that, let's be real, they'll at least give him 2 years, but if he's like, I don't think it's going to be the case, but if he's like really bad, these next few years. Who's to say that he's not going to be one of the guys that they just end up moving on from after 2 years? And it's just like, all right, we tried him, he didn't work, let's bring in a new young quarterback and restart over. But they just have a decent amount of positions to fill, so obviously it's one of those things. And it's just the old adage of paying the running back when you have a lot of other positions of need and everything. Anyway, he's only 24 years old, so he still has a decent amount of career left, but it's also one of those things like shelf life of running backs where they might not last as long. But I don't want to say all that because Devon Achane is a really good player, so as long as he's able to stay healthy for them, that should be a really, really good deal. And like I said, they've said he's going to be their cornerstone of their franchise, so expect him to stay around at least for a decent little bit. I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but I just want to bring this up again. The Thanksgiving slate is absolutely insane. Packers, Rams on Thanksgiving Eve. Then you got Bears, Lions, Eagles, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills. And then Black Friday is Steelers, Broncos, so that's a little bit more of a down step, but it's not completely horrible still. That can be an insane Thanksgiving. That's probably the first time in a while where every single game is really, like, as of right now, like, fascinating. Because if you really think about it, I think the last couple of years, there's always at least been one or two games where it's like, that one's probably not too good because this team really stinks, or it's just not going to be a good matchup. One team's going to blow out the other. Cowboys, Eagles, it's going to be a division battle, and that probably could have incentives, even if it doesn't have incentives, because one team's bad, the other team's good. It's a division battle, so it should end up being a good game. Bears, Lions, realistically, those all should be good games, and which is, like I said, a nice change because there's been years where it's like, all right, the 4 o'clock game kind of sucks. I'll still watch it, but it's just like, oh man, this team is just beating the hell out of this other team, or it's like a close game, but it's not like a good game. But as of right now, it seems like it might be a pretty decent start to that should be a decent start to Thanksgiving. I think overall that when it comes to schedule release, talking about those, I think the Colts, Chargers, Titans. There's one more that I thought was pretty good as well. I can't remember whose it was, but overall, those were the ones I think were my favorite. And there's just one that I didn't like really much at all, and it was the Cardinals. I think I quit watching after like 10 to 15 seconds. It's like, all right, yeah, I do not like the directions this is going. And I'll admit, from reading the comments after that, I think there's a lot of people who agreed with me that it was not the best one done, which really sucks for them. They could really use a win, especially with how just in the dumps they've been as of late. Anthony Richardson is saying that showing up to the Colts workouts is a blessing in disguise. And what's just wild about this is just, it is one of those things with the NFL. It just goes to show you how quickly you can get humbled in it. I think he was just 2 or 3 years ago talking about he can't wait to be a Hall of Famer, how he's going to do all these great things for the Colts and everything. And now it turned to he wanted a trade. Then now it's turned into him coming out and saying the Colts are still giving me a chance to go out there and work and potentially get on the field. Glad to be able to stay in the NFL and put in the work. Just showing up to OTAs, it was a blessing in disguise for me because I just wanted to work, and they allowed me to do so. So I'm thankful for that. First off, it's oops, my bad. That could be potentially political speak. Could not be. Who knows? Maybe that's how he actually feels about it. Either way, just the fact that he's kind of saying that is just like, man. Regardless, his career's just been absolutely wild. Daniel Jones comes in and pretty much just takes over the job after Anthony Richardson has a hurt season and then just not too good of a season playing, where he got injured again. It's just been wild. And then he should have played a good amount last year potentially for a really good Colts team, but he hurt his orbital bone in a freak injury, which is just part of the course for his career right now, where it just seems like just bad timing after bad timing after bad luck after bad luck after horrible injury after horrible injury. It's just not gone his way so far. And it's just crazy to think because he's so young. He's a 4th overall pick. They didn't exercise his 5th-year option, which is pretty significant because I think in his draft class there's only like 3 or 4 people out of 32 of the first rounders who didn't get their thing picked up. And he's potentially going to be an unrestricted free agent after 2026. I'm curious to see if the Colts are just going to let him walk, or if they're just going to be like, hey, we're committed to you being our backup. We're going to offer you a contract that's decent. I genuinely don't know. Because at this point, too, I mean, the Vikings might be a team who's interested in picking him up and working on him as a potential project, but it's Just sucks, man. I'll admit, too, he's a guy I was really, really hoping for. I think he's the first ever rookie I bought a jersey for on that night, and it's like, I hate to say it, but probably won't be doing that again. And it just sucks, man. I was really hoping he would be good. I mean, there's still a chance, but as of right now, it looks like his career is not on the best of trajectory so far. And man, I'll put my head on my pillow every night and think about the Houston Texans throw where he just throws an absolute dime from 50 yards away. But then you remember all the other plays, just like, man, if only he could be a bit more consistent and was able to stay healthy. Apparently, the NFL executive Godot requested the Falcons Saints game Monday Night Football for Dome coming, which is I'll admit, I was confused. I'm like, Dome coming? What the hell's that? And I read a little bit more about it. It's like actually kind of fascinating. So, one of the marquee Monday Night Football games will basically, I wouldn't call that marquee. Hold on. One of the Monday Night Football games is going to be Saints versus Falcons, and it's going to end up being a very special one. So Roger Goodell asked for the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons to play at the Caesar Dome on Monday night, according to the NFL VP of Broadcasting, Mike North. It'll celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Saints Memorial win over the Falcons and the return to New Orleans for the first time since Hurricane Katrina. That's just really cool that the commissioner specifically requested that and everything. And the fact it's going to be on the exact date, all that stuff, that's just really, really cool by him. And that's going to make a Monday Night Football game that, in all honesty, as of right now, looking ahead, we'll be like, that's one I don't think, out of all the Monday Night Football games, like, I'm not too excited for that one. Now there's at least a little more intrigue into it. All of a sudden, it's like, all right, it's going to be a celebration of what was and all that. So, hey. You never know, too. The Saints might end up being good with Shock. I'm interested to see. As for the Falcons, I don't know what the hell to expect from them with Tua and Penix. I, genuinely do not know what to expect from their starters. I know, Kyle Pitts is probably going to be decent. Bijan Robinson's probably going to be good again. No idea what to expect from that defense. I'll admit, the Falcons are one of those teams that's they're like a black hole damn near when it comes to, the betting scene. Because I'll admit, I'm starting to slowly do some of the breakdowns and look-throughs because we have that coming up in just a couple weeks. It's a lot closer than I expect. I need to actually start planning it out. I need to start looking at the dates and everything and be like, all right, when do I actually have to start this so we can time it up with the season? But, because, we're already we're 19 days away from it being under 100 days. College football's 2 days away from that. But, yeah, basically, like I said, I was starting to look through breakdowns and everything, and the Falcons basically just kind of become a black hole because every time I look at them, it's like, man, I can see it going this way, but at the same time, it's also wouldn't be shocked if it goes that way. So it's like, we'll come back to this later. And as of right now, I still don't know yet. Aaron Rodgers is re-signing with the Steelers on a 1-year deal that's going to be worth up to $25 million with incentives. I think it's basically 15. Is it base salary of $22 million or $23 million, and the rest is with incentives? Not shocking at all. We've said it on this show. Multiple people have said it on others of their shows as well. We thought Aaron Rodgers was coming back to play this year. He's especially to at least try it out with Mike McCarthy one time. I don't think this is shocking too much to anybody. Sounds like Steelers Nation is kind of split in the middle on, yeah, it's awesome to have him back, and also it's like, can we just move on already? So I don't think it's going to be too bad for them. I'm curious to see overall, though, what changes are going to happen with Mike McCarthy being there. Is that the jolts of lightning that the Steelers need, or do they generally just need a refresh? And because they have Cam Hayward who's older, T.J. Watt who's a bit older. There's a lot of guys in that building we're easily 5 to 7 years away from it for sure being new, but within 2 to 3 could be even new. So it was wild. Vikings are awarded the 2028 NFL Draft. And Nashville got awarded the 2030 Super Bowl, so you can imagine how expensive that Super Bowl is going to be, especially at the rate of this economy, let's be real. Yikes. But shout out to Nashville's 2030 Super Bowl, should be a good one. Apparently, Urban Meyer has lost his multi-million-dollar arbitration case against the NFL. NFL team that fired him with cause in 2021. So, apparently the Jaguars declined to comment. The person spoke with the Associated Press because both sides signed an NDA preventing them from discussing the case publicly. The person said that the case was settled in 2025, although On3 reported it first Monday. So, And basically, yeah. I mean, that's not too shocking at all. That Urban Meyer's era of the Jaguars was horrible. I mean, he's lucky Liam Cohen came around to help Trevor Lawrence out a lot. Or there's a really good chance that Trevor Lawrence not panning out could be turned back to that one disastrous year with Urban Meyer and the Jaguars. I mean, nothing came good out of that. Absolutely nothing. The Saints have made a contract offer to Cam Jordan. Apparently, they have made one. They wanted him back. Speaking before a charity golf event, Loomis did not go into details about the value of the offer, but he did say they at least offered him. And also commented on, he also came out and said with Alvin Kamara, we're going to see how he fits in our scheme. I don't know if that was Loomis that came out and said that or if it's the head coach. Here, it was Loomis. We're just trying to see how he's going to fit on our roster. Obviously, there's resource management element to it. We'll get into that over the next week or two. So that's going to be fascinating. We see them moving on from Kamara, which is just insane to think about that as he's at that point in his career. It's just crazy to think that he ended up not getting a Super Bowl ring. I would have thought for sure, especially with how good the Saints were early on in his career, that he'd be a guy that ended up potentially getting one when I was younger. And then you look back all these years later, it's like, man, he just wasn't able to get. He had the few chances with Drew Brees, and then those weren't able to pan out. And since then, it's just been mediocre, rebuilding teams. It's been a lot more mediocre because the Saints really have been trying to avoid. They've really been trying to avoid a rebuild, to be honest. So I think that's actually crazy. The Cardinals are not favored in a single game all year. They are actually dogs in all 17 games. So there is a really good chance that they'll probably end up. We'll see them at potentially number 1 overall. Sorry, I just had to look at this article. They were posting wins-loss guesses. They have the. Yeah, this is not reasonable. I was going to talk about some of this, but I just looked at 2 or 3 of their schedules on this site, and they were guessing all schedules. And obviously, this is just a person's opinion, but there's a couple I was looking at. It's like, there's just no way. So we're not even going to spend time on that. Cam Scatterboo says he'll be ready to play by week 1, which is really good for the Giants because they'll definitely need him. Obviously, there's ups and downs with the injury process coming back from rehabbing, but the mental battle has been the hardest part, making sure that I'll trust it fully. I'm a little ways out, not too far, but I'm ready to go. Week 1, I'll be ready to go, which is awesome for him because that was just a horrible injury. And Cam Scatterboo was just so awesome to watch. He's a guy that I'm honestly hoping I could potentially get in fantasy this year just because I want to root for the guy and have fun with him. The injuries just suck, let's be real. I can imagine, too, that mentally it was really tough to come back from because, his ankle was turned sideways, and his big thing is power, and he's a running back. He does a lot of running, so when your ankle's sideways, yeah, I can imagine it's tough to want to trust that and everything. Cam Cadwell did say he didn't find the year. I do not consider that successful for me. He said, I had 400 yards on 100 carries. When I play 17-plus games this year, I'm going to have 300 carries for over 200,000 yards. Hate to say it, but I don't think they're going to be running the ball that much. But there's a good chance. Hopefully they do, because I'll save Jackson Dart from running, because he's a guy that truly does not need to be running the football as much as he has been, especially for his health. Obviously, his legs are a huge part of his game, but health-wise, I mean, he needs to be hopefully a lot more laid back with the running this year, because it was bad at some points. So, according to sources, the league meeting in Orlando, that's happening, I believe it's happening today. There will be a special briefing on the Bears Stadium. Club and league staff will update the 32 clubs on progress on the only 2 variable stadium solutions, Arlington Heights and Hammond, Indiana. Or, excuse me, only 2 viable stadium sites, So that's going to be interesting to see if anything actually does come out from that. OTAs kicked off yesterday with the Bills, Cardinals, Dolphins, Falcons, Raiders, Ravens, Steelers, and Titans, which just makes us that much closer to the football season happening. And final thing I want to talk about today is, by the way, shout out to Aaron Rye for winning the PGA Championship. That was awesome story. Awesome to learn more about that. Finally, I want to talk about the strength of schedule rankings. The Bears now come into the season with the hardest schedule. And I believe there's I think it's a stat. I'm actually tempted to bet this. I'm not going to lie. I'm tempted to bet the Bears miss the playoffs, and that's mainly for the fact that there's a stat going around. I believe it's at least 7 years straight that the team with the hardest... It's been a couple years going that the team that has the hardest schedule or strength of schedule usually doesn't make the playoffs. So for the Bears, they have a .550. compared to their opponent's win percentage in 25-26. Dolphins have .542. Cardinals have .538. Their schedule's horrible. Let's be real. That is a tough schedule. Packers got a hard schedule. Chiefs do as well. Patriots, those are five. Cardinals 538. Packers 538. Chiefs are 536. Patriots are 531. Raiders are .529. Bills are 528. And then you go down the easiest. The Browns have it the easiest at .429. Saints are .434. Colts are .465. Bengals .450. So as you can see, looking at this, we're going to save this for later because Giants are in the middle of the pack. Cowboys middle of the pack. Steelers middle of the pack. There's some of these teams that, like, for example, like I said, the Bears miss the playoffs. I'm probably going to put a sprinkle on that. It's probably going to end up being a dumb bet, but especially because I'll admit Ben Johnson's pretty good, and I think Caleb's probably going to take a step up and be a little bit better, but it might be worth the sprinkle just for the stat, and this might be decent odds. So I'm going to definitely hang on to this, and this will probably come back up a decent amount when we do the breakdowns and everything, because, like, the Broncos having a .512 schedule, like, that's a team, especially with bonus coming back, you might look at and be like, okay, I mean, obviously their odds are going to be inflated in general because they're a good team, but, I mean, you know what, that's a pretty good point. They might be not the best example. We'll do the Eagles, for example. They have a .481. I guess they'll be another good team, too. Try to find one of these teams, like maybe Texans, .474, more towards the bottom. They might be teams like, hey, especially if they can figure out their offensive line. That defense is already really good. Maybe we can figure something out where it's like, all right, but better way to attack this, because it's like their odds are really good, and there's a chance that, I mean, them to win a division, it's plus money, so it might be like, okay, maybe we can do something there. Then the first or second round of the playoffs, maybe those odds will be decent because they're lower down there. Like, that's just stuff we'll be able to play with. And actually, the one final thing I do want to talk about, I forgot to mention this. Jacoby Brissett, not at OTAs for the Cardinals, it's just a big sign because obviously he's holding out for money. That's a situation where we're probably going to see Carson Beck at some point. Is it going to be the beginning of the year? Will it be the end of the year? We'll for sure be seeing at least some of Carson Beck, though, as the Cardinals figure out if they want to draft another quarterback or is potentially Carson Beck the guy. That is just, and like I said, the Cardinals have a really, really hard schedule. I mean, I think the end of their season is decent. Like, the last 3 weeks might be okay, but by that point, they're probably going to be battling for the first overall pick, so they might be wanting to lose those games anyway. It's just rough, man. It's going to be a rough season for the Cardinals, but maybe they might be able to at least take a step forward, so maybe next year will be somewhat decent for them, because, yeah, I'm not going to lie. That might be one of the easier breakdowns I do all year, breaking down the Cardinals. Probably won't be betting much at all for them, and yeah, they're a team, like, similar to how people are talking about the Jets. Next year might be a better year for them, because tough schedule, a lot of holes to fill. First year with the new head coach. Don't really have a quarterback there in the transition period there. Tough. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for support. Really do appreciate it. I'll be back in this feed tomorrow to potentially, we'll have some fun tomorrow. We got some NFL news to talk about. Got some more stuff to go through as the offseason gets closer and closer to our breakdowns, which, like I said, that's coming up soon, and I'm excited about it. There's already some bets I'm looking forward to that I like. We're slowly starting to add some college in as well, so we'll probably sprinkle in some college as the offseason goes as well. It's crazy to think they're almost under 100 days for both of those. I mean, it's to that point, though, especially in the NFL, like post-June. I mean, we're getting to that point where it's going to get really, really dry here soon, but it's only dry for a bit, then the season's here, and we can enjoy it. NBA playoffs are happening, NHL playoffs are happening. Both of those are fun. The Western Conference Finals, if Wemby keeps playing like that, that's going to be fun to watch. Thank you all for watching. I'll see everyone back in this feed tomorrow.